Hey, I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, we'll take potpourri for 200, Aaron.
Are we doing this show from the bathroom? Oh, sorry. Are we doing this show from the bathroom? Ooh, let's take a look at some SRBB headlines.
The NBA has announced the creation of a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Champion Award. The award will be given out annually and will recognize a current NBA player for pursuing social justice and upholding the league's decades-long values of equality, respect, and inclusion. The winner will be announced during the playoffs and will be able to select one organization to receive a $100,000 contribution on their behalf.
The Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame has announced the 2020 class of inductees, led by former Laker Kobe Bryant, who will be honored posthumously. Kobe, an 18-time All-Star, League MVP, 2-time Final MVP, 5-time NBA champ, and 2-time Olympic gold medal winner, will be joined by Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, and 4-time Olympic gold medalist and WNBA MVP Tamika Catchings. The class of 2020 will be enshrined on August 29th in Springfield, Massachusetts.
He won the Heisman Trophy, was part of the 2006 and 2008 National Championship Florida Gators. He was the quarterback for the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets. And then he decided to play baseball and played as an outfielder in the New York Mets minor league organization. Now, Tim Tebow is back, maybe playing in the NFL for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but not as quarterback, but as a tight end. He hasn't been officially signed, as Urban Meyer hasn't made up his mind.
MLB and ESPN have agreed to another 7 years together. The contract includes 30 regular season games, the Home Run Derby, the Little League Classic, opening night, and if playoffs expand in 2022 to 8 playoff series, ESPN will carry the entire schedule. ESPN Plus will continue to show a game nearly every day. The new deal offers a scaled-back number of MLB games from previous agreements. You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. We interrupt this regularly scheduled podcast for some unlike us news. Dateline Houston, home of the Astros, because we're being nice right now. They actually did something pretty cool. They are going to provide furnished apartments to all minor league players on all levels. So no more 5 guys sleeping in a studio apartment on air mattresses and foam mattresses in the floor. They actually have the opportunity to stay in a furnished apartment courtesy of the team. And it doesn't matter what level they're at, from the Gulf Coast League up to AAA. Of course, this comes with the mandated raises to all levels as well. So everybody's making a little bit more money, and the Houston Astros minor league players have a place to stay. We now return you back to our regular podcast program. All right, another weird week, the MLB. We'll get to a lot of the other stuff coming up with injuries and other types of things. Injuries seem to be the biggest thing that continue to happen. But let's talk a little bit about some stuff that's been going on around the league in the last week or two. Things like the MLBPA and their grievance, MLB TV and Mother's Day. We could talk about that. We'll take a look at college baseball and maybe a couple of little things that we noticed in the minors in the early part of the season.
The MLB Players Association has filed a grievance against Major League Baseball, claiming that the league did not act in good faith and schedule as many games as possible amid the COVID-19 pandemic last season. Now, the union is seeking $500 million in damages, and the MLB has filed a counter grievance. This is strange to me because I know it was 60 games and it had a lot to do with owners and things like that, but I'm not sure what the end game is for the Players Association.
Remember, the CBA ends this year,
Right.
December 1st, if they don't have a new one in place. So this is part of the, posturing before they get in there. The players, we know the players had said, hey, we want to play like 114 games. But somewhere along the way, it was already set on MLB's side that they only wanted to do 60. At one point, I can't find the quote right now, but Manfred said that, it was going to be 60 games. And they'll just wait until they get to a position that he can mandate that.
Yeah, he said it was going to be set at 60 games, and no matter how negotiations with the players went. So
right.
It didn't matter. And I guess, too, when I think about it, this also put into play the expanded playoffs that MLB's been pushing. So it allowed for that to be put into the mix. So the $500 million in damages indicate that the Players Association is seeking about 25 additional games worth of salary for players. And as you mentioned, could be used as a bargaining chip as we move forward with the CBA, hoping that the CBA all goes well and we will continue to have baseball. It's always a concern.
This is something that can go both ways. This isn't just the MLBPA that's posturing here and positioning. The MLB can work it as well to their favor. Part of the problem too is that it takes forever to get a grievance heard. When Chris Bryant's grievance about his playing time, it was filed in 2015. They just heard it and decided last year. So they've asked the MLBPA to fast track it so they can get that done. But if come December 1st, there's no resolution, they can lock them out, which means the hot stove will be turned off because there'll be no movement.
It'll be super cold, and all of those short stops will be stopped short.
And that's it for this week on Sibling.
I couldn't resist.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to send you to a class to learn how to resist a little bit more. MLB has become like, especially in regards to MLBPA, has become like an episode of The Bachelor. It's the most dramatic season ever. Every time. They can't just go through easily. I'm beginning to think, I'm not a full-on conspiracy nut. I mean, I look at things and I can see like, oh, that seems a little off. But I keep seeing things happen in all the sports. Makes me think that wrestling's no more fake than all these other sports. Because
Wrestling's not fake.
Sometimes it happens. How many times have you watched a game where the announcer will go, he hasn't struck out in 17 games, and he strikes out? It's almost as if it's part of a script. I see that in the NBA sometimes. It's like, yeah. And how is it that the media always knows? There's no surprises anymore. Like in the draft, there's not a chance that somebody's going to pick somebody else. No, they always pick the person, or almost always pick the person they say. In baseball, this is probably what's going to happen. I think that's what threw everybody off when the Dodgers went on a losing streak, because nobody expected that. They thought the script was the Dodgers will be incredible all season long and unbeatable.
Well, and that you're talking Planet Head's language, because every time I turn on the game, he says, they already know who's going to win. They figured it out before the season even started. They have the schedule. They know what's going to happen. I don't think they do.
I mean, sometimes it feels like it. It really does. That'll definitely be something that as the season goes, hopefully it doesn't get any bigger than this. Even if they get going, that whatever happens, we don't get a decision until right after the day after the World Series. They go, oh, the grievance is this, so that it doesn't overshadow or take away. Because the minute that we know that there's going to be some kind of labor strife because of the ending of the CBA, the owners can lock them out or the players can strike.
Right. And I was just thinking, it's really in the best interest of the owners and the MLB overall to continue to play. Obviously, this season, people are back in the ballpark. Ratings are up on TV. I mean, people are gravitating towards the game. And at Dodger Stadium, now there's usually, when everything is open, 50,000 people there or more. Now they're getting numbers that are about 16,000, which you think, well, that's not a lot. But in this time and the restrictions and things like that, it is a lot. And it's really good for the fans and, of course, MLB to just let the players play and worry about that grievance later after the season's over.
Right. Or let it be underneath everything. Let them be looking at the grievance, whoever it is, the mediators. They need to grab hold of what's going on right now. Perfect opportunity for any venue, whether it be baseball, any sport, as things open up more venues across the country. They got to take advantage of. The point right now is that everybody's going to want to be out. Don't raise your prices to make up for last year. Keep them the same, lower them, because more people that never went out before are going to want to go out now because they've been forced to stay home. They have a lot to gain from this. Do I think that they're going to make the right moves? Probably not, because they never make the right moves. And this isn't just a Manfred thing. This has just been a baseball thing. They've always done dumb things. And here's a prime example of MLB dumbness. On Mother's Day, MLB TV was free to everyone. And if you're not familiar with MLB TV, you can go on the app and you can watch any game except if you're in Iowa, and then you can't watch any games because every team is blacked out in Iowa. So like I live in LA, I can't watch on MLB TV, so I can't watch it on my phone or my computer. I can't watch the Dodgers or the Angels, which is funny though, because if I was in Iowa, I wouldn't be able to watch the Padres, the Giants, or the A's either. But I only get restricted to the Dodgers and the Angels because I can watch them on TV. So they're protecting the local affiliates that carry those things. So you got it on TV, you can watch it there. And then you live, I don't know how far. I mean, I'm 10 miles from Dodger Stadium and 30 miles from Angel Stadium. So I can get to a game.
We are 6 hours about south of Denver. So we go straight I-25 up to Denver, and 6 hours west to Phoenix. And we are blacked out for the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. I honestly have not seen. I go to a lot of the AAA games here, the Isotopes, and you do see Rockies gear because it's their AAA team. You see a lot of Dodger gear. Yankees, I think that's kind of a normal everywhere across the country. But I've never seen anyone with the Diamondbacks hat, shirt, anything. But it's not like I can jump in the car and be to Denver to be at the game or Phoenix.
But
I'm blacked out.
But you can watch Rockies games on TV, right?
Only because we have a dish that has the Rockies Sports Network. Otherwise, there's no local channels that would provide that. But
the
yes,
two,
but I can watch Rockies games. Yes.
So really, based on what's available to you, the Rockies make a little sense.
Yes.
Because they're closer, and you have access to their network.
Right.
But the D-backs, you have no access to in any part of the city. It doesn't matter. Generally, you just would watch them because they're playing the Dodgers.
Right. Exactly.
But you can't even watch them play the Marlins.
No. And I can't even watch them play if they're playing in Dodger Stadium. So they're not even in the state of Arizona. They're in LA, and you can't watch them. So then I thought,
well, you can't even watch him play the Mets.
no,
You can't watch him play
can't watch
anything.
them. I can't watch them. And then because Planet Head is a self-proclaimed geek, he got Starlink, which is the Elon Musk, the satellites and everything.
Did you guys play Dogecoin?
No, we're looking into that. So it's in beta, and we have it hooked up, to a couple of computers. And I thought, oh, this will be perfect. I can finally watch a Dodgers game with really, I can finally watch the Diamondbacks game while they're playing the Dodgers. Nope, I can't do that because the Starlink server is in Los Angeles. So I'm like double whammy.
Phoenix.
No, double whammy.
Right, you're blocked every way you go.
Yes, Elon Musk just blocked me.
Well, you can always get in your car and drive east to the Texas border, and then you're just blacked out from Rangers and Asterix games.
Right. I should do that whenever they're playing the Diamondbacks. I
Right.
go to Lubbock or something, Amarillo.
Right. I'm going to Amarillo by morning.
That's right.
I'll be there. I'll be in. Where are you going, Jen? I'm going to Amarillo for 3 days.
But I think these blackouts, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, MLB is always bemoaning the fact that there's not enough fans. There's not enough. We need more people. We need younger people watching. But if you're blacked out from everything, like in Iowa, who's going to watch? Why would you watch baseball? Because you can't watch it.
Right. So what was the point of having a free day of MLB TV and then still have all the blackouts? At least for that day on the days, because they do free games and stuff. It should just be free and
free.
Exactly. And free and free and free. It just made me think of it too, is they do games on YouTube every once in a while. There's no blackouts on that. It's all free. Doesn't matter who's playing. But what they do is they black out everybody else. So you can only watch it on YouTube or Prime or whatever platform they're using that day.
Yeah.
So everything is up. If you're not at home, now I can on the Bally's app watch the Angels play. Why not open it up? You want more people. More people are walking around with their phones or a tablet or a laptop so that they can watch wherever they are. And if there's not an all-access app, their games should be available across the board. If they want to bring more people in and they want that younger generation, they're doing all these silly rule changes, thinking that's going to pull people in. But people are going to be pulled in by the fact that they can watch it on their phone or whatever, and that will draw them to a point. Oh, that looks like a fun thing to do. That looked neat. I want to go see that player in person now that I've been able to watch them on TV. If I can't ever see them.
There is a sports channel here, Sports Talk, and they play Dodger games. I mean, on the radio.
Yeah.
So even now. So I guess at some point, maybe way back when they were like, oh, we're going to, figure out this blackout rule. But now it's just become man-fretted and needs to go.
Yeah, for sure. We're about 2 weeks away from Selection Day for the college playoffs, the College World Series, and then about a month away from the College World Series actually starting out in Omaha. I guess this last week, lots of changes in the top 10, in the top 25 even, as far as teams moving around, and that's a good way to look and see who may very well make it into the playoffs and get an idea. Since it's coming up and it's one of our favorite events of the year, and we've been jonesing for it since 2019, we thought we would over the next few weeks take a little look, get ourselves ready for the World Series, the College World Series. That way we're fully prepared, and you as a listener are somewhat familiar, if you don't follow it closely, to the teams and what's going to be happening here in a month.
So lots of changes with college baseball. Top 25, Arkansas still has the number one spot. The Razorbacks have been number one, I think, for the majority of the season. I think they were going back and forth with Vanderbilt, but the big thing with Vanderbilt is they're number 3 now, which a lot of people in college baseball were losing their minds that Vanderbilt had dropped to number 3 because they got beat by Ole Miss. They had a series and Ole Miss came in and showed them what's what. Texas is number 2. And then you have 4 is Tennessee, and then Texas Tech, Oregon, Arizona, Notre Dame, Florida, and Mississippi State. That rounds out the top 10. And
Oregon and Arizona jumped up there and leapfrogged Notre Dame and Florida, who I think they stay the same. They're about the only 2 static teams in the top 10.
Now 3 teams dropped out of the top 25, and they're teams that we had talked about earlier on an earlier episode when we talked about college baseball, and that's Pittsburgh, because they were supposed to, it's like, well, they weren't going to do well across the board. They got into the top 25. They're out now. And then Indiana and then Louisville. So, but those guys, those teams, they still, obviously have an opportunity to get into the regionals. Lots of changes. You also saw UCLA come in, UC Irvine, Stanford, Arizona State. So teams that earlier on in the season, it was all about the SEC. And now you're seeing those West Coast teams that we were always, the Pac-12 that you were always used to seeing in the World Series. They were like a fixture. And then you looked at the top 25 and you're like, where are they? They were pretty non-existent.
You had like Oregon, which was another team that wasn't supposed to really do anything, was kind of hanging in towards the bottom of the top 25. And now you've got 2 Pac-12 teams in the top 10 and then you've got Stanford at 15, UCLA at 18, and then Arizona State at 25. They're making their push at the right time. And then of course UC Irvine, which is part of the Big West, is they're pushing at the right time to get themselves in position to be considered into the playoff field.
And one of the teams I'm watching, mainly because I love the underdog, especially when it comes to the College World Series, is East Carolina. And they're still in the top 25. They're number 11. They've been kind of keeping that middle ground spot there. So it'll be fun to see them in the World Series. So selections, regional locations have already been announced. And then the regionals, the teams that will be going and who they'll be playing will be announced on Memorial Day. I do want to mention that the National College Baseball Hall of Fame has announced that Todd Helton, who was a former baseball star at the University of Tennessee, the Volunteers, will be inducted into the 2021 class. He was probably the best two-way collegiate player ever. He had a career 370 batting average, and he still holds the University of Tennessee's record for home runs, RBIs, walks, and saves. And as a pitcher, his ERA in 1994 was 0.89. And in his junior year and his final season of collegiate baseball, he went 8-2 with an ERA of 1.66 and 74 strikeouts in 76 innings. He did lead the Vols to an SEC championship and their first College World Series in 1995. Well, it was for their first appearance in 44 years. And he went on to play for the Rockies, and he was probably knowing the Rockies, but Todd Helton, the Todd father, as they called him in Denver. He's probably one of the greatest Rockies. He's a 5-time MLB All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove winner, 4-time Silver Slugger winner. He also helped the 2007 Rockies to their first and only World Series appearance. So congratulations to Todd Helton on his induction into the College Baseball Hall of Fame.
We wanted to piggyback on that with a little look maybe at the minors. Not too much, just simply because we're only, like second series into since especially with the AAA, they're doing 6-game series because they travel more than, if you're in the California League, you just hop on a bus or get in your car and drive between, the 20 miles down the road to the next stadium, or you might play in Northern California, but it's all the bus leagues, as they call them. You'll hop on the team bus and go wherever you need to play. You're not traveling across the country per se, or having to fly. So we thought we'd take a look at a couple of things as far as that goes, just to get an idea of where we're at. We'll look at it more, especially after the College World Series is over, as we start to see more guys like Adley Rutschman, the Orioles' #1 prospect catcher, who just the other night hit a home run off of his own face. Now, how did he do that, you wonder? Out in right field, they had the big scoreboard, and they had his picture up on the scoreboard, because he was up to bat, and he hit a home run, and it hit the Jumbotron and hit him. He hit himself right in the face with the home run ball. So
maybe they need to always do that when he's up to bat, is put his face up.
He's such self-loathing that he's
I'm going after,
I'm going after me.
Well, one really cool thing, we mentioned Drew Robinson in our last episode. He plays for the Sacramento River Cats. It's a AAA team of the San Francisco Giants. And he lost an eye in an unfortunate incident. And he hit his first home run, and he did it in his hometown of Las Vegas when the River Cats were playing the Las Vegas Aviators. He also hit a double in that game. Family was in the stands. Doctors he's worked with were there. So really cool moment for Drew Robinson.
Speaking of minor league games, as I recall, you had a minor league game experience while you were being blacked out from watching MLB TV for the games you wanted to watch. You and Mom went to see the Isotopes, right?
We did. We went on Mother's Day to see the Isotopes. That was my Mother's Day gift from Planet Head. And
now, I have to say, before you go on, just to give Planet Head some props. Planet Head he's not like into sports like we are, in the sense that we're into it. We watch it. We live it. He's an outdoorsman kind of guy.
Yeah.
So he could be, I guess, what you would call like I don't know if it's still on. There's a show called American Sportsman, and it was people hunting and fishing and catching alligators in a swamp or whatever, mountain climbing, things like that. I mean, he grew up in a very rural area. I mean, even you've lived more rural than I have. And even Altus is nowhere near rural compared to where he lives.
No.
What's the closest Walmart's, like 60 miles away or something like that?
In Colorado.
Right.
So in another state.
You got to go to Cortez, which is how far is that? It seems
like 60 miles.
60. I remember going that way a couple of times, but that's just to get to Walmart.
Yeah.
And you would think Walmart's everywhere. You would think they have that, but little tiny town, and when the biggest thing near you is a national park, then I think he's closer to more national parks than he is to Walmart.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah.
So props to him, because he supports your habit.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. My crazy habit. Yep. He told Mom, because Mom told him, thank you for the ticket. And he said, "You're welcome. It's even better because I don't have to go." But he does go to the games with me. And usually he's a good luck charm, because the team that we're rooting for usually wins. And so that's his claim. Like, every game I've been to, they've never lost. So
Never lost.
Yeah. But
Yep.
we went and saw the Isotopes. They were playing the the Skeeters, the Sugarland Skeeters. And
They're not cheaters yet. Just Skeeters become cheaters.
right. Yes. The Isotopes on that day when we were there, they did win 6-4. So that was really cool because they had lost the previous 3 games. So them winning on Mother's Day was really cool. We had a lot of fun, and it was really great to be back in the ballpark. And I have to say, my sentimental side, when we sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," I did get a little teary-eyed because it was really cool to hear everybody, and everybody stood up. And there was probably about 6,500 people there.
There was some guy in a wheelchair there miraculously could stand again because he was moved by Take Me Out.
Yes, we had miracles happening
That's
at Isotopes at the lab, as they like to call it.
People were converting to the Church of Baseball.
Yes, right then and there.
Hallelujah.
But it was really cool. It was a lot of fun to be back in the ballpark, and do plan on going back many times.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Big sigh of relief in Dodgerland as this last week they started looking like they were heading back towards normal Dodger expectations. Of course, I don't know if anybody heard this, but the Dodgers are getting ready to field a team in a secondary league. So they'll have their main team, and then they're going to have their IL team, which will be competing against all the other injured list teams. I don't know how they're going to do that since they're all injured. Maybe they'll play video games against each other, but they've got enough people on the IL. They could almost field it. They could have, because they got a couple of pitchers on. They got starters. They got relievers. They got
a couple of infielders. Actually, like 3 infielders. Yeah, I think they could do it. I think it's possible.
The latest to join the list, and we don't really know how long he's going to be out based on the injury. There's no surgery required, but that's Corey Seager, who took a ball off his hand. And lucky for him, from everything I've read, it hit the bone right like at his pinky finger, and that apparently that one heals faster. So they say, I guess anecdotally, it heals faster than others. So he won't have to have surgery on it. It's just a matter of taking the time to let it heal. And
yeah, that ball that hit Corey Seager, if you go back and watch it, you can hear it hit his hand. It's awful. It reminded me, not quite as bad, but when I was a kid, one of the things that sticks out in my mind as a sports memory is watching Monday Night Football with Dad and Joe Theismann breaking his leg. And that,
having his leg broken?
Yes. He didn't do it. He had his leg broken. And that is a memory that has stayed with me. Like, I can still hear it. When I saw that ball hit him, I thought, oh no. And I just knew. And his reaction, I have broken a bone. I broke my ankle. It did require surgery. So it's a good thing that this doesn't require surgery because it's a lot longer. But that is definitely can hurt the Dodgers because he bats second and he's a big part of that. I mean, and the other thing is he was kind of slumping, not doing great. And he started hitting, where he was 3 for 5 and 3 for 4 and, and getting hits where he needed to get hits. He wasn't hitting home runs, but he was looking like back to Corey Seager MVP form. So yeah, that was a tough one. Edwin Rios, who has been bemoaned by the fans, why is he a pinch hitter? Well, then we find out he has a torn ligament, something, in his labrum. Thank you. Learning all these anatomical, these words, I'm
surprised it wasn't his
anatomy. Oblique. Right, exactly. And so he is going to have a shoulder surgery, and he will be out for the season. But after you heard that, I was like, oh, okay, maybe that makes sense that he was doing so poorly. So he gets a little bit of a pass. However, if it was bothering him, why did it take so long to figure it out.
It's
but
like when you go to the
bodies work.
doctor, right? You go to the doctor and they go, here, do this.
Right.
Here, do this. That's not working, do this.
Yeah.
And you go through however long of a time frame, and then they go, okay, nothing's working, we'll do surgery.
Right. Brewster Gratterall is still on the IL. We mentioned that before, that he, I think, is throwing. Is some good news. Zach McKinstry and Cody Bellinger should be doing some minor league rehab coming up, either next week or soon, I would say, because that will be a big help for the Dodgers.
The biggest part of that will be Zach McKinstry, because without Cody, they still were winning. Without Zach, they went on a big losing streak.
Yeah, who knew that Zach McKinstry was the conduit to the win?
He is the key master to.
He is. I think there's something about him. We've mentioned this before about other teams, players that just you like watching them because they enjoy playing the game. They're having fun. And Zach McKinstry is one of those guys. And I'm sure that he brings that energy to the dugout. But that'll be good to have him back. But yeah, the Dodgers are hurting.
Speaking of new energy in the dugout, through all of these issues, the Dodgers made a trade with the Rays, Friedman's old team, and they brought somebody I guess he must be high on. He was great in Japan, but since he's been here, he's been rather below average.
Yeah. That is Yoshi Suzuko.
Hi.
He's an infielder, outfielder, and he does add a left-handed bat to the bench, and he was traded for cash or a player to be named later.
And that's going to come up again regarding the Rays a little bit later.
There's another guy that the Dodgers signed, and I've heard of him. I think he usually has worn red, so to see him in blue was really like, I got to get used to this. But everybody looks good in Dodger blue once you put on those whites. So good.
He did. He looked really good when I saw him. I thought, wow, not that your transition wasn't so bad, and that would be
Albert Pujols, who I was thinking was probably doing some donuts in the Angels parking lot and be like, suckers, and then drove up the freeway.
He and I had a couple Krispy Kremes together.
But yeah, I had heard I think when we heard the Angels released him, which throughout the baseball world was a shock, because he is the home run leader, 667 home runs, and among other things. And you think, how could you do that? And so a lot of people, and I even thought, well, the Cardinals would be a good landing place for him to go back to where he started. And nope, it wasn't there. And I never, ever would have thought it would be the Los Angeles Dodgers, but it is. And I had somebody text me and say, I'm jealous and confused.
Yeah, I was confused. I was happy that he was here from the standpoint that I get to see him. I mean, I stopped down. I think somebody tweeted that, Angel fans are all going to be watching Albert's game. They may not admit it, but they're all going to go see what Albert does, and that would have been the same anywhere. If they could watch the game, they would have been checking him out. And honestly, I have kind of tuned the Angels out since this happened. I'll go back to them, I'm sure. This just, and like I said before, as an Angels fan, I'll get more into it in the Angels segment, but as an Angels fan, what's best for the team, I don't know that this was what was best for the team. I'm not buying into it. And lack of respect, I feel that he was played. And in his press conference, when they introduced him, he was specifically asked, why did you come to the Dodgers? It seems like your place with the Dodgers would be exactly what your place would have been with the Angels. Why didn't you just stay on the bench there? He said, I never said what they said I said. I never said I had to play every day. And if you look, the only person who said that was John Carpino, the president, Perry Manassian, and Joe Madden. He's an everyday player. So they covered themselves by saying that. Albert, the only thing that he's really said, he said a couple of things else that may sound like a dig at the organization, but the one thing he did come out and say is like, I never said I had to be an everyday player. I told him I would do whatever was required, whatever they needed me to do.
Right. One thing about Albert Pujols, he does provide the bat that the Dodgers need because he is still able to get hits and RBIs, get guys in. So, and he still plays first base. I mean, he could probably do it in his sleep.
Yeah.
But the bigger thing I see, especially for a team who had really, I mean, they look really good. They're back to that. I don't want to jinx it kind of the form, but I guess glimpses of it. But he's going to be so great in the dugout and the clubhouse because he really, I mean, Mike Trout said he is my mentor. He mentored me, and you can see the other players, older, I mean, guys who are veterans, the younger players, they all are going to gravitate to Albert. And I think even Doc and I mean, everybody is just going to gravitate towards him because he's so great.
He's got so much baseball knowledge. He loves the sport. I can tell you one player that probably is going to want to sit next to him on the bench all the time. Will Smith. Pujols was his favorite growing up. He played video games. He would always try to be Albert Pujols in the video game whenever he was playing baseball video games.
It's like his dream come true.
Oh, yeah.
To be on the same team as your favorite player growing up. That's really awesome. So it is kind of, when you heard it, like, what? How is this going to work? But then when you start looking, okay, Corey Seager, he fractured his hand. He's going to be out at least 4 to 6 weeks, if not longer. You've got to put somebody at shortstop. That's going to be Gavin Lux. Max Muncy can play second. He normally plays first, but he can play second. You can put Albert at first, and you can,
right, and especially with lefties.
Yes,
because Albert hits lefties really well compared to other players. Rios being out as well.
Yep, that was a big one.
Because he played first base, sometimes third base. Max, you can move to second. You can also put Max at third. He's played there if need be. Well,
and you think about Andrew Friedman, and there's times you're like, oh, why did you sign this guy? But how many of us said, who is Max Muncy, and why would you sign him? Who is Chris Taylor, and why would you trade for him? And they're invaluable to the Dodgers. And there were people that said the same thing. Well, Albert Pujols, yeah, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's got all of this going for him, but he's only hitting this. But you have to look beyond the stats and the box scores.
Well, yeah, the intangibles that he brings. But my issue's been, everybody talks about like he's not been the Cardinals' Albert Pujols. He's not been at that level. He's been on a decline. He's been probably the last 4 or 5 years and he had injury issues that kept him from playing. He had issues with his feet. He came back from that. He was a little bit better. He's 41. He's slower. He got a double. I mean, he legged out a double. And when he got there, he made a joke to the dugout like he was running his wheelchair down there, But he's smart. I don't know how many times he's stolen a base or he's done something on the bases because he sees what's going on in the game. And they always say that when you get to a point where the game slows down for you, that's when you'll be successful. Well, the game goes real slow for him. He's got all those years of experience, and he's going to be good for the Dodgers. I think even if he's not playing all the time, I don't think he cares. I think there was some underlying animosity that came out after all that. And so welcome to the Dodgers, Albert. And in fact, to tell you how big of a thing this is, I saw a picture of him that the Dodgers tweeted or posted, and he's going to wear 55 because I wondered about the 5 since Corey Seager has it. He's going to wear 55, so it's double 5s.
Yes, perfect.
And his family, they all talked about it, thought that was good. So he's going to wear that. I was like, I need a Pujols Dodger jersey, even if it's like just 5 months. I need the 55. And Blanca even said, I would do that. And she's like, she wears her Dodger gear really consists of a black hooded sweatshirt. This is Los Angeles Dodgers in black on the black. So that she's kind of incognito. Yeah. So she's like willing to get one of the player T-shirts that has 55 and Pujols on it because she's really a fan of his too.
Well, I was going to say, I have to say, after I heard that he was being signed, I thought, can we call this Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast anymore? Or do we need to change the name?
It's Jeff's Solo Rivalry. Oh, no, that's not going to work either. All right. So this week, by now, if you watch the Dodgers play, you have seen him play, or hopefully, I'm not sure what their plan is, but they have talked to him about it. He's very happy with the communication that he has with Doc and Andrew Friedman. So we'll see what happens. And this time next week, we'll probably be talking about what Albert did. We'll have Albert's Corner. We'll talk a little bit about what Albert did. My hope is that he's able to do something. If his first at bat, he comes up and hits a home run or something like that.
Yeah, that would be really awesome.
But if not, he contributes somehow. So people are like, oh, we got him for this. And you're right. At first you thought, does this make any sense? And then as time went, it does make sense for the Dodgers and for Albert because of the situation that they're in. And they seem to see him as like a player coach idea, a mentor. He can contribute. He's not worried about playing every day, all the things that they need from a true veteran. So we'll see how that works. We'll talk about him next week. Let's take a look at what happened this last week when they went home after a disastrous road trip, welcomed in the Mariners, who they had split a series with. And this will be the final time they see the Mariners. And then former Dodger manager, Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly, found his way, brought him and his team, last year's COVID Warriors, to Dodger Stadium for the weekend.
Yeah, so the Dodgers won. Can you believe it? Last couple of, I'm like, what did the Dodgers do? Lost. But they won. They won the series.
Why is that, when you said that, can you believe it? All I could hear in my head was Al Michaels from the 80s Olympics. Do you believe in miracles?
Yes, the Dodgers are they're getting back to form. It looks like they played Seattle. They won that series 6-4 and 7-1 in both games. In the first game, I wanted to mention, because this guy's always on my list, my bad list. But Gavin Lux in this series against the Mariners, both games 2 for 4, and he hit a home run in the first game. Max Muncy is just hitting home runs like it's just that's just what he does, and still walking home runs and walking. But they looked good. Walker Buehler pitched 8 strikeouts, pitched 7 innings. He looked good. Kenley Jansen had the save, which is always is nice. And in the second game, Julio Urias pitched. He went the 7 innings, which is something we talked about with the starters, is going deeper into the game. Then Miami came in, and the Dodgers won that series 2-1. They did lose Sunday's game, and they only lost by 1, and it was a bullpen game. So for the bullpen to keep Miami at 3, I think is good. Maybe a confidence booster for the bullpen that hasn't looked good. Garrett Clevenger in the first game against Seattle actually got a win, so that's good for him. And again, I'm looking at these stats, Gavin Lux, 1 for 4, 1 for 3. And you think, well, that's 1 for 3 or 1 for 4. That's not a big deal. But for Gavin Lux, it's a big deal because he wasn't hitting anything. And he's really looking good defensively, making really, some good plays. There's a couple of times, and I don't know if it was necessarily his, fault. There were some bad hops, but he looks like he's been polished up a bit, at least in my eyes.
And now that he's finally getting there, they're going to move him to shortstop to cover for Seager while he's out.
Yeah.
Will that adjustment, because now you're playing something different. I know he's supposedly a natural shortstop, but he's finally getting settled in at second base. Now you're going to change him. That can have an effect for people because now he's thinking he's got more range, more room he's got to cover. Shortstop's at one of the most important jobs on the field because you plug up one of the biggest areas other than the outfielders. You cover one of the biggest open areas on the field.
So far, I've seen him play a couple of games, and this was before, like if Seager had the day off, and he didn't look bad at shortstop, I think.
But if you know you're only going to be there for a day,
right,
it's different than knowing you got to be there every day.
Yeah, so we'll see how that works for him. I hope he doesn't reach Fernando Tatis Jr. air numbers.
Yeah, well, there's always that chance.
But you never know. On Sunday's game against Miami, when the Dodgers lost, Matt Beatty, who seems like a quiet type of guy, comes in, he does his job. He really has turned himself around after being sent back to Arizona, and then he came back. He's doing really well. He was called out on strike, and all he said was, and I'm paraphrasing, but that was bad, or that was so bad. That was it. Because I think it really wasn't a strike. I think it was off the plate. That's all he said. He didn't even get a chance to walk back to the dugout, and the home plate umpire threw him out of the game.
Yeah,
and it was so
it was like
weird.
He was throwing him out. He hadn't even finished saying what he was saying. The words hadn't even gotten fully out, and he has already turned to throw him out of the game.
Yeah. And you see Dave Roberts come running out, like, what the heck's going on? Because he didn't even look, Beatty didn't even look at the umpire. He just put his head down and said, and I didn't even notice that he said anything watching the game. So I went back and looked, and you can see him kind of saying it to himself. That was so bad.
Yeah.
That's it. He didn't look at the umpire and go, "You're so bad," and you bleepity bleep.
Yeah,
nothing.
He didn't use
he
any. And the guy turned and tossed him. You know what? To me, what do they say? Certain actions. Oh, when you do something, and people say, "Well, that's a sign of a guilty conscience," because he automatically turned and threw him out of the game.
Must be it.
So why did you throw him out? You knew you made a bad call, right?
Yeah.
And he felt guilty, so he threw him out for calling out that he did it wrong. Now, last week, we talked about some of the pitchers, what we were thinking, especially with the bullpen. And one of the pitchers we talked about was Mitch White, and how his numbers look really good, but things can be deceptive because, like I said, every time I see him, I feel like he's in trouble.
Yes.
And we look at his numbers, and his numbers looked okay. And what we didn't take into account at that point, and we've since gone back and looked at, is stuff like inherited runners. So starter gets taken out, reliever comes in, Mitch White, let's say, and there's two guys on base. Now, the starter, if those two guys score, the starters are going to take the hit to their ERA, or they're going to get charged to them. So now it's like in the game, their ERA was 9 because whatever scored in that amount of innings, right? But Mitch White's doesn't go up, or any reliever doesn't go up because there's they count them, but it doesn't really count against them as far as like the base numbers that we look at. But Mitch White's inherited runners score, because you can get the inherited runners and see like what, so even Mitch White comes in, he could inherit bases loaded. He inherited 3. How many scored? 0. That's a good outing. But if he comes in, he inherits 2 and 2 run score, he's part of the problem.
Yep.
And it's going to happen. You know, Kenley Jansen probably has some of that. Blake Trinan, I know, has had that issue. All the relievers, you're going to have something happen. You're not going to be perfect every time. So sometimes, you know, that's the one thing with statistics is if you have no context to them, you know, it's like watching that video of the guy, the Padres fan and the Rockies fan. We'll talk more about that in ATL. But if you're not sure of what the whole deal was, you have no context to it. You're like, what? And that's the same thing with some of these numbers, you know, and all these people that were talking bad about Max because he wasn't hitting. His average was 220 or 216 or something like that. But his on-base percentage was top in the league or one of the top. It still is. Right now, he leads the NL with a 437 on-base percentage. He would lead the majors if not for some guy named Mike Trout, who's always high up on the on-base percentage because he walks a lot. If there's a guy you want to see who knows the strike zone, if he doesn't swing at a pitch inside or outside, it's probably not a strike, even if it's called a strike. He knows better than even what the umpires do. That's how sharp he is. And Max has become that sharp because he leads Major League Baseball, not just the National League, but baseball with 37 walks on the season.
Crazy.
So
well, I will say about Max that he is looking more comfortable because before he just looked like he was mad all the time. But I've seen him smiling.
Yeah, I saw him kind of smiling and laughing on the field just the other day. I was like, oh, hey, there's Max.
Yeah, like there was something missing. He wasn't quite there, and now he's back. Max is back.
Coming up this week, by now, we would have seen Albert's debut, and we would have seen Bumgarner. Madison Bumgarner pitches. The Diamondbacks and the Dodgers meet up for the first time this season. First of 19 games that they'll play against each other. And then the Dodgers will take on the Giants for the first time in the season as well. The one thing that I was thinking about is in matching up with Bumgarner, which is always a big deal because he's got that issue with Max Muncy and there's no Oceans to go get the ball out of in LA or Arizona as far as where the stadiums are at.
No, in Arizona, at least you could get it out of the pool.
Go get it out of the pool, right.
If it worked.
Look forward to that. But he has been, the beginning of the season, he was having a really hard time. And now he's turned it all around. In just the last few games, he's got a 1.64 ERA, and he was up over 4 before. He's only given up 4 runs, 12 hits, and the batting average against him is 154. The mad bum of old seems to be making his way back. Like we'll see the Giants, who have the best record in the National League. That'll be the weekend series coming up, starting tomorrow. So that brings us to Player of the Week. Who you got?
This one was a hard one for me because I couldn't pick just one. And I felt like one really shined but this guy did too. And I felt bad if I left him out. And it'll be the first ever that I've ever said this. But my first player of the week, so I'm doing co-players of the week, is Max Muncy, who was 9 for 19. So 473 batting average, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs. But I could not overlook.
You're having a hard time saying this, aren't you?
And I can't believe I'm going to say it. Is Gavin Lux is also my player of the week. He was 7 for 19, so 368 batting average, 1 home run, and 5 RBIs. But I have to say the home run that he hit fired not only him up, but it really fired up the dugout. And a lot of people, and I would even say maybe that was a turning point for the dugout, for the Dodgers, to see everybody get a hit in some way. So Max Muncy and Gavin Lux are my co-players of the week.
Yeah, you always know when somebody's having a hard time saying something because you kept going around. Where can I go to avoid saying Gavin Lux? But yeah, you got to give the credit where credit's due. Honestly, this week I took kind of an easy way out because he's making it easy right now. I'm gonna stay with my pick from last week, and Max Muncy is the guy. He's the one who is being consistently on top of everything. You know, last year you would have said Corey, or you would have said Mookie. This year, Max has become that guy. And Justin Turner has been pretty consistent, but even he's kind of fallen off just a little bit.
Not only is he consistent at the plate, but out in the field, he's made some really incredible catches night after night right into the net. So he kind of has learned how to use his wrestling prowess to catch the ball off the ropes. Yeah. Or the net, as it's called. But I like to think of it as the ropes when he's catching the ball.
Well, good news for the Angels. They've climbed out of the cellar. They're in fourth place now. The Rangers have dropped back down, but they're only within like a game of each other. So it's not going to be hard for them to get back into last place. But for now, they're not living in their mom's basement. Now, initially, what I thought would be the big story this week would be that Albert Pujols was officially released after being DFA'd, clear to go sign with anybody. But we already know how that happened, what happened with that, to make it a bigger story. You would hope, as an Angels fan, that after he was released and all these things that you said were the reason why he was released, that you'd go on some great winning streak. So it looks like you're smarter than you really are. However, the Angels aren't playing any better. Now, I will admit the Angels are having injury issues too. They did get Rendon back in Boston. They took on the Asterix and the Red Sox this last week, but the pitching's still a problem. However, I did read a good article in, I believe it was the OC Register from Jeff Fletcher, that he talked with Joe Madden about the pitching, and that once again, the numbers are not as bad as they seem. And this is one thing that's a hard thing with ERA, earned run average, is that sometimes a bad play, a misplay, can turn into an earned run. The pitcher can't control that. And the Angels' ERA as a team is the worst in baseball, 5.34. However, their FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, so they're only looking at balls, strikeouts, and home runs. You're not taking into account anybody in the field and any plays that they may make. Is 4.11. That's a pretty big difference, significant difference. So the Angels pitchers, while they're still not great, Bundy's been kind of falling off, and they still think he's going to come back, but he's not been the solid count. He's not been your shutdown count on pitcher. That's become Shohei Ohtani. Quintana has had one truly decent outing, and you gave him player of the week for it. And then
scraping at the bottom of the barrel.
And then the relief pitchers, they've just not been that good. In fact, the Angels also went to Tampa Bay and got a pitcher from them for cash or player to be named later in Hunter Strickland. He's a veteran presence. Apparently, he's a guy who's had some anger issues or intensity issues, if you want to say that. What's happened when the guy's really that and he gets mad a lot? We don't say anger issues. We say he's very intense. And interestingly enough, he did something that we'll talk about happening in ATL. He blew a save one time and hit the dugout wall and broke his hand and was out for a couple of months. And then because of his issues there, he had a feud with Bryce Harper for a while and even had a benches clearing incident because of it. But he does have championship experience. He's a World Series champion with the Giants and with the Nationals. He's been around. So Tony Watson, who played with him in San Francisco, said he seems to have calmed down quite a bit. So we'll see his contributions, and hopefully he'll be a big help. Joe Madden believes that the pitchers are coming around and that a lot of the issues are, and there's been a lot of defensive issues with the Angels, errors. I think they're one of the top teams in the league in errors. Really, the only part of the bullpen that is consistent, like I said, is Shohei Ohtani. And the problem for him is like he's not getting a lot of wins. He pitched in Houston. They lost 5-1. He pitched 7 innings, only gave up 4 hits and a home run. So he gave up 1 run of the 5. Then the bullpen comes in and they blow it. So his numbers are pretty indicative of the way he's pitching, even though he's, the losses. It's crazy how the effect he's having on the team, and that now that they're letting him play and they took the restrictor off, he seems to be thriving, playing almost every day, pitching, sometimes hitting in the game as well. So I got to stay with that. The Angels just had in Houston, they won the first one, which was good. Like, hey, great, 5-4. We want them to beat the Asterix.
Yes.
And then they lost the last 2 in fine fashion, 5-1, and then they got whacked 9-1. They couldn't put anything together. It just, you scratch your head. Okay, so Albert Pujols was stopping you from winning? I don't think so. You're not hitting without him. You said you weren't hitting with him. You're not hitting without him. What's the issue? Jared Walsh was still playing every day. In fact, Jared Walsh in that first game, 4 for 4. Another 4 for 4 game for him.
Yeah. It's hard to watch the Angels offensively, especially a guy like Mike Trout or even like Anthony Rendon. You know their potential, and you say that about Mike Trout, that he has potential, but it's not being showcased. Like he's not, and he's in a slump.
Yeah, like
a big time slump.
4 for 21 in the last 10 games, no home runs.
Yeah, so he's in a drought, a trout drought.
A trout drought. Yes. Hey, your lake is drying up there, buddy.
Yeah. And it's hard to watch that because he's so great. I mean, he's arguably the best ball player in Major League Baseball. I don't think a lot of people would argue that point. But he's on a team that can put wins together. They're capable of it. We saw it. I mean, even in that game against the Dodgers, where the Dodgers were, winning 13-0, they came back within 3 runs to, maybe even win that game. So it's there, but it's like they're catching the fireflies in the jar, but they don't want the fireflies to leave. So they, ultimately they just start, their little flicker on the back of is starting to get low. That's how I think about the Angels. And it's hard to watch guys like Mike Trout lose in 5-1, 9-1. And then they win and you're like, yay. And then they lose and you're like, oh, well, okay. Well, that was the spark, and that was it.
Yeah. They go to Boston and don't really fare any better in the first 2 games, 4-3. And I know we always go, well, that was closer, but does it matter that it was closer?
No.
It's still an L in the end. When you look at at the end of the season, you're not going to say, oh, they were within 1 run on all these. There's stats I can go find on Baseball Reference how many 1-run games they won or lost, and see how much of a difference that could have made, but it's still an L.
Right. And it doesn't they don't have a category for the playoffs. The team that has the most.
It's not a tiebreaker.
No.
Yeah. Who had the most 1-run losses? Because you would have almost been there.
Yeah.
They lost 9-0 against the Red Sox. The next day they did finish up on Sunday, but once again, here's the issue: they got out to a great start, 4-0, and they ended up losing. I mean, they ended up winning 6-5, just like in that Dodgers game. They 13-0, and then they come back to lose 4-11. This time they were able to come back, but it took a bloop by Mike Trout, who done nothing. He finally got this bloop because honestly, it should have been caught. That to me was an error more than a base hit. And then Ohtani hit his second home run of the series there in Boston. He got his first knock in an opposite field home run into left center over the wall, or up on the wall. The Green Monster was conquered by Ohtani. So Jared Walsh again came up big in that last game in Boston with a 3-for-4. And then another guy who had a couple of big games, especially in the wins, was utility man Phil Gosselin, who was playing third base in place of Rendon. And he came up big in both of those games, 2-for-4 and an RBI. So he contributed. He's a journeyman veteran. Honestly, those are the two guys I thought about for my player of the week. And we'll get to that in a second. A couple of notes. We already talked about Mac Trett and his slump. David Fletcher slumping hard, that he was dropped out of the leadoff spot down to number 9. And he's got to work through his stuff. I've seen him have a couple of issues on the field. There's something going on with him, because normally, even if he was having an issue at the plate, he was still solid in the field. Right now, he's having issues in both parts of his game.
I think it's sour milk.
You think?
I think. What else could it be?
I guess he's maybe a bad batch of his designer milk, so it went sour, and he's having a hard time. Maybe he should have just done it full time. He wouldn't be causing issues here. I don't know. He'll snap out of it, I believe.
He will.
But all right, so it's become easy for the Angels to only pick. There's only 2 or 3 players that are really doing anything consistently, and not when somebody does do something, picks up something during the week, because we've had Pujols, Quintana, a couple of these other guys pick up one here or there. I gave it to Andrew Haney one week. As far as the player of the week goes, you can give it to Shohei. Shohei has become the first pitcher since 1900 with 40 strikeouts and given up under 12 hits in his first 5 starts. The only other pitcher close to that with 40 plus strikeouts and less than 10 hits back in 1976 would be Nolan Ryan. And of course, with Shohei, every time he does something, nobody's been a two-way player like he's been since then. You talked about Todd Helton. He was 2-play in college. Once you leave college, it's rare that you go to the minors. You're going to do this or you're going to do this. You're not going to do both. Look at Jared Walsh. He came up as a 2-way player. So he's one of those guys who could be player of the week almost every week the way that he's going. Mike Trout, when he's having his times, when he's not in a slump, could be there almost every single week. This guy's been there often too, that I picked as my player of the week. And that would be Jared Walsh. Once again, 4-for-4, 3-for-4. He's hitting almost every game. He's solid. He plays a solid first base. He's showing himself to be a true major leaguer.
And I concur, because I went back and I looked, and it's hard when you look at, they have a win, and I struggled with this with the Dodgers because it's hard to pick somebody out when they're losing like that. But even when Jared Walsh went in the loss, I think it was the first game, he was 1-for-4, but he had 2 RBIs during that series or actually during that game, but he was 1-for-4, but it was enough to, just the one hit made a difference.
Yeah, he's pretty clutch.
Yeah. So I went with Jared Walsh too. He is, before it was always a joke. Well, this player of the week is David Fletcher again. But Jared Walsh has leapfrogged David Fletcher if he can get over his sour milk or spilled milk. I don't know.
Maybe it's spilt sour milk and now the house smells bad. I don't know. All right, the Angels have Cleveland, and then they get their first look at the Oakland A's, another division rival.
And they also have a makeup game that's kind of odd. So they play Cleveland, and then one day, and one day only, they have a doubleheader with the Twins. And because the Twins
make up for the COVID games.
got COVID. So, yep. that's so that's kind of odd when you look at the schedule.
Yeah, well, because that
series
was the
and
day off for both that were.
Right. It worked, but it does look a little funny.
Hopefully, when they saw the Twins the last time, the Twins had started their downward spiral. They are the worst record in the league. Not that they can't win. They've got the players, and Andrelton Simmons will potentially be making his Twins debut at his old house.
Yep.
You know that song, the Fleetwood Mac song, World Turning?
Mm-hmm.
Every time we do this segment of the show, that song pops in my head. It's one of many things, but the World Turning, or like last week I told you about that commercial that always pops in when we're doing that. Well, it's time for Around the League. Take a look at some of the things in no particular order. Just, however, we're like a tornado. We may hit 2 or 3 houses in a row and then skip a couple, or alternate sides of the street back and forth. So let's do one thing, though, that we kind of has become the staple of this segment and the opener to this segment, the AL and the NL players of the week. And let's start with the NL, because he plays for a team that is all but mathematically eliminated from the playoffs already and is growing out of his cousin's shadow like a tree.
That would be
or bush.
Or Josh Fuentes, the Rockies' third baseman. He was awarded the NL Player of the Week. During the week, he had 13 RBIs, 2 home runs, a .500 batting average, .909 slugging percentage, and a 1.43 OPS, which is the second best in the NL.
The RBIs led all of the NL.
Yeah. So it's nice to see. It's nice to see his name, not one of the familiar names, pop up, because he is a good player.
Yeah, absolutely. He that was cool to see him on there. The other player, which even though he's won this is the 5th time he's won the Player of the Week, you don't hear a lot about him because he seems to be out all the time. But when he does play, he has an impact, and that would be Aaron Judge, Yankees right fielder.
Here comes the Judge.
5 home runs in the week. He now has 12, which as of Sunday he was tied for league lead with 12. .571 batting average over 6 games. So congrats to Aaron Judge and to Josh Fuentes. At least he got something for his season, since he'll be watching the playoffs with the rest of us. Maybe we should invite him over.
Oh, that'd be a great idea.
Did he ever play with the Isotopes?
I don't remember. I'm sure I think he did. I just don't remember. I'd have to go back and look.
Do it all over again. But you can't go back. Don't you know? From Players of the Week to record-setting performances, we go to Milwaukee.
The capital of record-setting performances.
Apparently, because they've done a lot lately. And it's where Laverne and Shirley and Richie Cunningham, the Fonz, they all lived in Milwaukee.
Corbin Burns set a record for strikeouts without a walk to start the season with 58 strikeouts. Very cool.
I wonder if that would have still happened if he hadn't gone on the DL for a little bit. So there was like a little break in the action, and then he came back and continued on. But yeah, he finally walked somebody.
Yeah, well, he broke this record, and then later in the game he gave up a walk. So I guess we're going back to the scripted part of baseball.
Now the question is, like with any of these records, will this one last for a while? I mean, think about how long the home runs lasted till that got broken, or even bigger than the home run leader, the number of home runs in a season lasted even longer than that. So I just wonder how long something like that's going to last. So I don't know about you, but every once in a while a player's a player's name just pops in my head. And I got a couple that popped in my head, and I want to share just what I found with what they were doing. But first, let's take a look at another Yankee who had a personal best happen this week. Garrett Cole got his 1,500th strikeout in only 212 games, so he's moving up on the list. And then one of his teammates, so we've talked about Aaron Judge. We talked now about Garrett Cole. The guy whose name popped up in my head for no apparent reason was Aroldis Chapman. He's been around for a long time. I hadn't really heard his name out when I do catch things about the Yankees. And I was just thinking about when I've been seeing pitchers more and more. You see pitchers throw hard, up around 100, and some of them still seem like they're grunting and growling, and it's a big monster effort. But more and more, these players seems less effort to throw that hard. And it reminded me of Aroldis Chapman, because when he came into the league like 11 years ago now, he got out on the mound. He was throwing 100 like he was just lobbing them in there. There was no effort to it. And it got me thinking about, I wonder how he's doing, because I didn't remember. So far this season, he's been in 15 games, pitched 15 innings. He's given up 4 hits, 5 walks. He's got 31 Ks in 15 innings. So he's averaging just a little over 2 per inning. He's got a 0 ERA in that same time frame and a 0.60 whip. So he has not slowed down, it doesn't seem. He's still in control.
Definitely. I think with Aroldis Chapman, a lot of people maybe not always pay attention to him during the season, but postseason, he always seems to be the shine. He shines. He's the right spot there. But yeah, he's a guy. I can't believe he's been in the league that long.
I know, right? It's crazy how long that he's been there. And I guess with the exception of that time frame where he was almost a Dodger and then he became a Cub because of the domestic abuse that was alleged against him, he's pretty much been quiet. He's played for the Yankees, and for a while he played for the Reds and the Yankees. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the Cubs, he won a World Series and went back to the Yankees.
Yeah.
Another player that popped into my head, former Dodger pitcher, among other places. Last year he was a Twin, Rich Hill. And in the last 3 games, 6.2 innings pitched in his last game versus the Yankees. But in his last 3 games, he's got a 0 ERA, 17 strikeouts, walked 6. His batting average against over the 15.2 innings that he's pitched in the last 3 games is 188. So they're not hitting him, and he's really doing a good job down in Tampa. Like I said, don't know why they popped in my head. They just did.
Did you see the controversy about Manny Machado? Or was it a controversy? Or was it a controversy because it was Manny Machado?
Yes to the last one for sure. I believe it's a controversy if you only saw the clip of it where it was isolated into just a small area. So you didn't really have a concept of where everything was. If you see the whole thing, the wide angle of it, and see where he was in relation to what was going on, it's not a controversy in my mind. What did you think?
Well, I want it to be a controversy, and I wanted him to be suspended because he's Manny Machado. But no, after watching him, the slide, in which if you only see the small portion of the video where he's sliding into second base, and it was going to be a double play, then you think, yeah, he's totally trying to take the guy out, be a bruiser.
And you don't have an idea of where he is in relation to second base. So it looks like he's a long way from second base, but next to second base.
Right. But after you watch the longer clip, you realize well, this is going to be a second play. He's breaking up the second. He knows he's out, but he wants to get the runner on first to be safe. So he's just playing smart baseball.
He wasn't that close to second base, but it was right in his path. It wasn't as if he went out of his way to take the player out. He didn't spikes up. He didn't make contact with him in that way. He just, a lot of times you see guys, the guy coming off the second base to throw to first, they duck down or something. He just slid in, and that upended the shortstop, but it was a clean play. It was a really smart baseball play.
Yes.
Which surprised me that it came from him.
Exactly. And after you watch the longer clip, he gets up and he sees if the other player's okay.
Yeah.
So if it was a dirty play, he wouldn't have done that. They probably would have been come to blows or something.
Castellanos on it, stood up and flexed in front of him, and then got 22 games.
Which reminds me, will our favorite Red be suspended for not doing a post-game interview, but allowing a fan to do the post-game interview?
He was there. He was on camera. He just didn't have the fan. So what happened that caused this? That instigated how did he incite?
It's my favorite. This guy has got, I hope he listens to us, because I just think he's great, because he's speaking our language. He told Nick Castellanos to just imagine Manfred's face on the ball.
And then Nick took that advice
and hit a home run.
Exactly.
So yes. I think they should actually put Manfred's picture on not all the baseballs. You know how they have some of the deadened balls and some of the, just put it on selected and see what happens.
Isn't that like when they have in the home run contest, you regular balls, and then you get like a gold ball, or you get something like that.
Yes.
And if you hit that one, it's worth more, or somebody makes money for.
Yes, it could be you get additional runs instead of, like, if it's, nobody's on base, it would just be a 1 run, but because you hit the Manfred ball, it'd be 2, or something like that. And then we can make a contribution to an organization that maybe Manfred supports.
No,
you could
who
go
cares
that
if he
route.
supports it? It's got to be a local organization.
Okay, we could do that. Local organization.
To the team is, So
yes.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. So after the game, they're doing the post-game interviews, and Castellanos gives the headset to the fan, and this was an away game too. Where were they playing? I don't remember where they were at, but this fan is in an old Reds jersey, like 70s era Reds jersey, and Castellanos gives him the headset and the microphone and says, "You tell him why, or what happened," because he had fist bumped him afterwards. If people wanted to know, so he told him, "You tell him why." And
they were playing the Rockies, so
right.
He had a fan there in Denver. That's his spokesperson.
Colorado, looking at the stands there, it's beginning to look more like LA, where when you go to the game, you'll see a lot of jerseys from the other team. You see just a lot of jerseys from a lot of other teams at every game. Not that many Rockies.
No. Well, and I noticed when people go to a ball game, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to a ball game, I got to get my old jersey out of the closet, or, whatever. And it could have been an Expos jersey, but they're going to wear it because it's baseball related.
Right, that's baseball. And I don't wear Rockies gear.
Right. I don't look good in purple.
Yeah, that was probably, to me, that's the play of the week right there.
I think so. It really is. And him standing there with his arms crossed, and
He's just like, yeah, that's
he's
what's going on.
agreeing with what happened. He made that fans year, I'm sure.
And that was fun. Something else fun, even though it wasn't the Rockies. Like I said, they're 12 under. The Rockies are.
No.
I don't even want to talk about them anymore.
Do you want to talk about COVID?
We can take a look at COVID. Sure, why not? Who's on the COVID list?
Well,
Gleyber
Torres of the New York Yankees is on the COVID list. But the interesting thing about this club is they are 85% vaccination at rate where, things can loosen up. You don't have to wear a mask in the dugout. Gleyber Torres, though, has COVID along with, I think, the pitching coach, the first base coach, third base coach. So not sure what was going on there. Then we head across the country to San Diego, and the big name that has COVID, Fernando Tatis Jr., along with his teammates, Will Myers and Eric Hosmer. And they all followed protocol.
Right. They all followed protocol. They all got their shots. I'm beginning to wonder about that because I keep hearing people that have gotten their shots. They've been told that they've cleared the whole thing. They're all vaxxed, and then they're getting it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how long it's going to be before they start shutting things down again, because they're even with the vax, everybody's getting it and they're passing it on. And so, 7 players on a team are all getting it, even though they've got the vaccinations and they've been following protocol.
Right. I think some people think, well, if I get the vaccination, you are vaccinated against it, but it's not, it's like with anything, you could still get it. So you really still have to be careful about who you're around, wearing masks when you're supposed to, doing this social distancing thing, and still being careful. But if you're around, if the majority of people on the team all have vaccinations, it should be fine. So this is obviously, I don't think, happening in the ballpark. I think it's outside of the ballpark.
I don't think they're following protocols like they say they are.
Right. Maybe inside the ballpark, not outside the ballpark.
What I find interesting is that we all thought that the big news, one of the big teams as far as news goes on the field, would be not only like the Dodgers, but the Padres running away with it in chasing the Dodgers, or them being back and forth. And really, this is the biggest story about the Padres. They've not been, and now that can change, but they've not been anything to really pay attention to.
No, just like their uniforms, brown and yellow, gold, whatever it is.
That blend in their earth tones.
Yeah, they just kind of blend in. And I think that's why that, again, going back to Coors Field, that Padres fan just clocked that Rockies fan, I think, because the Rockies fan said something about his ugly jersey.
Could have been. If you had this, because when you look at it, the first time you see it, you just see this guy walk across from where he was over to the other guy and just roundhouse him. And the dude goes down, falls over the next set of seats on the side. He's out. He got Mike Tyson right there. It was boom. And then the guy turned around to walk off. It's just what completely happened. You see the whole thing of him coming over there. I'm sure there was some John going on or something, but he took him out. Now, was he trying to be controversial? What did they go? I never saw it. Did they go get? I'm sure they took him out of the stadium, and he probably got arrested for assault. And
I'm sure. I never heard, and you never know. I haven't heard or read what the incitement was. And now, after he punches this Rockies fan, I think people were stunned. You can see him standing there like, what is going on? And then they swarm him and somebody takes him down. So it was more exciting than what was happening on the field, I'm sure.
No doubt. Yeah. You don't see that very often, especially not at a baseball game.
No,
every once in a while you see something on the news where some
football
guy just walks up and clocks somebody and it happens to be caught on a camera somewhere.
Right. Maybe soccer, especially, in England
that's like a big brawl.
Something. It starts.
You're not sure whether they're happy celebrating together because they can watch football together or if it's a brawl. The soccer hooligans out in mass.
That's right.
Well, you would think that, like I said, we thought that the Padres would be a bigger story than they have been. Now they're, COVID warriors, so they're out there doing that. That's their big headline. The Giants in the West are the story right now. They're number one in the West. They've got the best record in the National League. They started off kind of as a surprise, it seems, and now if you're surprised by them now, that's silly. There's no reason to be surprised by them.
Right. I said earlier when the Dodgers started their spiral, I said, who are we really not talking about? And you don't really hear a lot of press about them. I mean, unless you're like focused on, baseball, but even then you still are not hearing a lot about the Giants, and they're just playing ball and they're doing really well. And then again, I keep looking at Alex Wood. He's like 5-0 or something crazy like that. And I'm thinking, where were you when you were in Dodger blue? Why did you have back problems?
That right now into that fifth spot.
Yeah. Is the sea air in San Francisco better? It must be.
It's got to be. There's something going on up there. The other top team in the league right now would be the White Sox. They're the top of the AL. And that made me look a little more because I noticed that the White Sox are surging and the Royals are already starting to slip away after a great start just a couple of weeks ago. Really, when you think about it, they were towards the top or having a good start to the season. And the Royals, let's see, the White Sox their worst was 2.5 games back. Now they're 3.5 games ahead, and they've spent 13 days in first. Whereas the Royals, they spent 28 days in first. So they had almost all of April, and they were 2.5 games ahead at one point, and now they're 6.5 games back of the White Sox. So they've fallen fast. And I can tell you why. They were 15-9 in April, and they're 3-13 thus far in May. So we'll probably see. We said at the beginning, are there teams that can continue playing at the level they're at now for the whole season? And the Royals have already, but I guess too, the Dodgers were playing like that. The Dodgers and the Royals shared best records for a while. And then both of the royal blue teams. So maybe it's something about that color for May or for their losing streak, April and May.
It could be. It's interesting you mentioned that because I remember back, when it was all about the Royals and the Dodgers, they hadn't lost a series. And it was like, which two teams hadn't lost a series? And it was both the Royals and the Dodgers. And now have lost series.
So they're no longer one of the best. It pretty much looks the same as it had been. A couple little changes in the standings. The Mets still lead the East just barely. But the Phillies are now over 500 as well. So I think that's just going to be the battle. I don't think anybody else is going to really do anything there in the battle between the Mets and the Phillies for the season. Red Sox are in firm control currently of the AL East. The Cardinals, after a really tough start, are finally coming together. We drank the Arenado punch, and it seems that the Cardinals are putting themselves, they're starting to make us look good. And they overtook the Brewers, who had been in first for a little while. We mentioned the White Sox in the AL Central. The Giants and the A's both are in control of their divisions in the West. Speaking of the A's, I don't know how many times, if there's any one team that's moved more. The Athletics started in Philadelphia way back in the old days. And then when I was a kid, for a little while, they played in Kansas City. And then they moved to Oakland. And now they could be on the move again. Maybe joining their brothers in Vegas to become the Las Vegas A's along with the Raiders. I think there was some other place that was located that was mentioned and all that, but that's the talk. Are the A's going to leave Oakland?
The big story with Oakland, obviously, are they going to leave? But this has been going on for years, is the stadium. Everybody knows the Coliseum, that where they play, it's like 55 years old. And you think, well, there are stadiums that are a lot older than that. Take Dodger Stadium. But Dodger Stadium is well taken care of. It is a gym. Where the A's play is not well taken care of. It's like municipal, go play softball. Things are, the dugouts are, it
just
looks
a field out at a park.
Yeah, it just is. Now, if you were to tell me there was a rat and a raccoon in the there, I'd believe you. Oh yeah, they probably live there.
Yeah, they're like the mascots. They're hanging out in the locker room even.
Yes, they're not just
Whose
in
turn
the
is it
tunnel.
to have the raccoon in their locker this week?
That's right. And then who takes care of them on the off season? Like who gets to volunteer?
Right. Like when they did, I don't know if they still do this, but we used to have classes where they'd have, I had one like 6th grade, we had snakes and hamsters and stuff like that. And when it came for break time, we could volunteer to take one home during the holiday and take care of it. So is that what happens? Somebody, Matt Chapman goes, I'll take the raccoon home.
Maybe. Well, Las Vegas seems to be.
You know what? That opens up. You know who gets to take the rat home?
Who?
Mike Fiers.
Oh, because he's the rat. Or the hero, whatever.
I think he's a hero, but that just is, that was a joke that was too obvious to miss.
Yes, I didn't even think about that. Las Vegas seems to be,
except for you, apparently.
Right, I did miss it. Las Vegas seems to be the place to be, maybe for the A's, but it really is about building a new stadium. It looked like they were going to get a really nice stadium. There have been drawings. They had the whole, I've seen this, right there on the water and I guess Oakland said, yeah, if we need a baseball team, they're a dime a dozen. We'll get one some other time.
We'll do it a different way. I read a story in The Athletic by a guy named Marcus Thompson. And I guess he's an Oakland guy. He lives in Oakland. And while he doesn't want to see the A's leave necessarily, he doesn't like the tactics that MLB and the A's are putting in place right now, in that they're threatening to leave. He's like, well, then leave. We survived the Raiders leaving and the Warriors. The Golden State Warriors played in Oakland. They went across the bay and are playing in a nice multi-billion-dollar arena in the city. Raiders, we know, are in Vegas. So they're like, hey, the city will survive without you. You're not keeping us afloat. And I think probably a lot of people think that, because there's a lot of money that could be used instead of putting it into keeping the A's here to make Oakland a better place.
Yeah, and I could see, especially now with all everything going on, I could see that argument. This is something that happens all the time, that teams threaten to leave. And then you see where, do they care? Does the city care? Obviously, Oakland's like, yeah, okay, don't let the door hit you on the way out, it seems. But I think Las Vegas is probably number one. I have heard that the A's are who the higher the echelon were going to Las Vegas to do some touring, maybe some gambling.
Well,
but
they were
some
checking
touring.
out this new thing with the gambling partnerships. I always remember seeing, hearing what's the line on this college game, on this pro football game, on this basketball game. I never remember there being a line on Major League Baseball, but now on the ticker, the crawler on the bottom, every one of them, this is who in this game, the Dodgers versus the Padres, the Dodgers, and I don't even know what that means. Plus this, minus this.
I don't
Which
either.
is the good side? If it's minus, is that good or is that bad? And
Yeah,
how much what happened to just the regular odds, like with the horse race? It's 14-1 odds.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
I win
My
$1 for
favorite-
every I win $14 for every $1 I bet. Right?
I guess. My favorite is after they go through all of this is if you have a gambling problem,
Right.
please call 1-800
And we'll take your bet.
and we'll take your bet there. There are some other cities that could be potentials. Charlotte, North Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee, although I thought Nashville, that there was the Nashville Stars maybe was that?
But remember that Dave Dombrowski was there and he wasn't available for any team because he was set there as long as they were legitimately trying to get a team.
Oh, that's right.
Who did he go sign with as a GM after the fact? He left that program after what he said.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means that they've been told something like, hey, just step back and away for a while, if they've just kind of given up on it because they don't like what's going on. I don't think that Nashville wants somebody else's team.
Not leftovers from Oakland.
And I see if they went there to Charlotte or to Nashville, it really throws off the balance of things.
Mm-hmm.
And, if they're still going to be in the West, but they're playing in Nashville, I know that we've said Vegas. Portland is another town that's been brought up as a location for them.
I've also heard Montreal.
Okay. Oh, Vancouver.
Vancouver, which Vancouver would fit into the West.
Right.
Now, one little known gym that not a lot of people are talking about, but they are one of the front runners, Sheboygan.
Sheboygan? I kept thinking about, I need a reason to move to Sheboygan.
Well, if they move there.
And if they go, then there's Major League Baseball there. I'm good. But you know who I feel bad in that case?
People who live in Sheboygan.
No, Iowa.
No. Oh, that's
because
right.
that'll be one more team that they won't be able to watch because it's within like 1,000-mile radius of Iowa.
Iowa will get shut out.
Who do they get to watch? Like the Marlins?
They're
even blacked out from like the Asterix, I think. It's just so many.
That's, I think most people want to be blacked out.
Yeah, maybe that was a request.
They put an official request to MLB. Can we please be blacked out from the Asterix games? I don't know where the A's will wind up, or will Oakland say, "Well, we can do this for you"? I don't know how much money.
Some kind of play.
So it'll be interesting to see where the A's go, but I am really rooting for Sheboygan A's.
I love it. Another team on the move, but we kind of knew this one. This isn't like a surprise. Ooh, they've got to move to a new city. They do have to move to a new city, but not for the same reasons. They have a hometown. They're just not allowed to play there, and that would be the somewhere in Florida Blue Jays. And their parent company apparently is in Toronto, Canada, but they're not able to play there because Canada has taken their COVID shutdown much more seriously and still aren't allowing anybody to come in.
Toronto Blue Jays are, in a way, like snowbirds. So they're in somewhere in Florida, and then they go back to New York, and they play. And then, because it's, it's still humid, but they're in Buffalo. So Buffalo during the summer is pretty nice. It's not too bad. Doesn't get, super, I don't remember being super hot when I was there. Niagara Falls right there.
Right. So they're back for the rest of the season if they're not able to finally go home to Rogers Center. Then they will be the Buffalo Blue Jays for the rest of the season. Of course, the Buffalo Bison, the AAA team, is now the Trenton Bison. Before we do this one IL entry, who else is on the IL? Or any specific people on the IL?
There were 4 players that really caught my eye on the IL. 3 of them are from one team, and then one is just a guy who goes on the IL, hits a home run, goes on the IL, back and forth.
That's how he gets some rest between home runs.
His home runs, yes. And that would be Giancarlo Stanton is back on the IL. I think he got upset because Aaron Judge was Player of the Week, and he threw a tantrum, and I'm not sure what happened. Oh, he strained his oblique, and he... I don't know. It doesn't not.
Oh my oblique. Oh my oblique.
It's not specific on what he did, but he's on the IL. But then the 3
So how
players,
long before Aaron Judge is on the IL again?
Now, is that a line in Las Vegas?
That should be a line. That should be. I mean, it's bettable probably, but it should be a line because they're entered, both of them. Sometimes one on, someone's on off, and then sometimes they're on together. What is the mathematical equation to figure out when Judge will go on the IL in relation to when Stanton is on or off the IL?
Yes. We need to get with a mathematician to
Somebody
see if
from MIT give us a call.
Yes.
Caltech, I don't know. Somebody that's...
That would be good because I don't really know. But the 3 guys that caught my eye are all from the Phillies. JT Realmuto, he has something wrong with his wrist. Didi Gregorius has something wrong with his elbow. And Bryce Harper has injured his shoulder. I think they're day-to-day, but they're all in the Phillies, and maybe they had a brawl in the tunnel and we just didn't get to see it.
That's what I was thinking. Or they were horseplay in the locker room, in the clubhouse, because all of them got stuff that could have been, they were wrestling around. All of them wanted to see what it was like to jump off the top of the dugout, a la Max Muncy, after they heard last week.
That, or what about Twister? They were playing Twister.
Yeah, they could have been doing that. But I was thinking they listened to our show last week and thought it'd be funny. And they wanted to be on as other wrestlers.
So Didi Gregorius used his elbow to hit Bryce Harper in the shoulder, and then JT Realmuto did something with his wrist in that same.
Well, they did like a wrist twist or an arm.
Oh, yes.
He spun his arm up and over around him. You know how they twist the arm, got him in an arm bar or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's those 3 top guys. And then, of course, Giancarlo Stanton.
Out yelling at umpires. Maybe he should be in the locker room yelling at his players to stop horseplay.
Well, he already was. Girardi's already yelling at his players in the dugout. He and Gene Segura. Well, I think Gene Segura was yelling at Joe Girardi is probably more apt, but there was something happened on the field, and he didn't get the play, didn't get the out, but then they got the 2 outs that they needed,
but it's sloppy.
He got called out or something. Yeah.
And plays that you should make, you should get called out on. And Girardi's that kind of guy. Yeah. Honestly, I like Joe Maddon. I don't know that his managing style is holding up based on what I'm seeing, but I like him. But I think that Joe Girardi is more the kind of guy the Angels need.
In your face.
All right, so let's go from Philadelphia or the upper East Coast down to I guess Northeast Georgia, the Truist Field and the Atlanta Braves, who have had issues with the IL list, which is redundant, isn't it?
Yeah.
The injured list all season so far.
Do you think that there will be an injured list all-stars?
I think they could, and if not, we should do it. Because
Totally.
there's so many players that have made the injured list. Who made it the most? Who had the best non-oblique injury?
Yes.
So they've had Max Fried just coming back, getting settled in. Charlie Morton, who they signed, is just been not great, not even good sometimes. So he's having an iffy season so far. And then they've had other injury issues. And the one guy from the pitching staff that had been holding it all together is a guy named Waskar Inoa. And he had been pitching really well. He'd even been hitting. Overall, a great pitcher and all-around contributor to this team. Mad about something, hits the wall in the dugout, and breaks his hand.
Not just any hand, his pitching hand. Yes. Now, what?
Didn't he ever see Bull Durham?
Apparently not.
That was one of the lessons. Did you hit me with your right or did you hit me with your left? It's like, why? So when you get in fight with a drunk, you don't hit him with your pitching hand. Ay. So now I guess all of his friends were on the IL and he missed them. So he can go meet up and hang out with them on the IL.
He can. And maybe the Freeze is on the IL. Now, the Freeze, if you don't know who the Freeze is, he's a guy who runs and somebody from...
It's a promotion.
Yeah, it's a promotional thing in between innings. And a fan... I'm not sure how they do it. Like they sign up if they want to, and it's a foot race, it's just a race. And he's really fast, the guy who is the Freeze, and he's never been beaten. He almost got beaten. I don't know if it's it's last year, 2019. And then he ended up coming, from behind. This time he gets beat. And it's news all over Atlanta. The Freeze has been beaten. And it's funny that he's the Freeze because in Atlanta, even if like one little snowflake drops, somebody sees it, the schools are closed, the roads are clogged because everybody's going home. So I guess that's what happened to the Freeze this time because a former University of Kentucky wide receiver by the name of Ryan Timmons beat the Freeze, and we'll see if the Freeze goes on the IL or if he continues his racing career.
I heard he was moving to Formula One.
Oh. He's got to be really fast.
Isn't it that the contestant gets a head start?
Yes.
And then he runs past him. And I think the one that he almost lost was because the contestant saw how far back he was and slowed down.
Yeah.
Had he stayed at the pace, he might have beaten him. What's that coming out of left field?
Well, there's no peanuts and there's no Cracker Jacks.
What about out of right field or the concession stand?
No, they're gone. So we go to the game on Mother's Day. I'm with Mom. And she loves Cracker Jacks. And it's part of being at the game. So she goes, see if they have Cracker Jacks. So I go down to the concession stand. They don't have peanuts and they have no Cracker Jacks. So I told the lady, I'm like, what do you mean you don't have peanuts and you don't have Cracker Jacks? You guys needed to cancel the game. This is unacceptable. But we made it. They gave us churros instead. So,
right,
not
because
quite
that
the same.
I bring us some churros and helmet nachos. I'll sit here
So I was
with
disappointed.
my stomach problems because it's burp, burp, burp at the ball game.
I was disappointed that we didn't get peanuts and we didn't get Cracker Jacks. And then when we sang the song, we did sing, By Us. We were like, Please give us some peanuts.
Airlift
Cracker
some
Jacks.
peanuts and Cracker Jacks.
There are 3 Costco's I know of in Albuquerque, and I'm sure that one of them had Cracker Jacks.
Or at least peanuts.
At least peanuts. And that was really
They
the
could
talk
have
of the
went
day.
to the main grocery store,
Yeah.
Safeway or whatever. I don't know what you have.
There's a Smith's right up with
Smith's. So
yeah.
they could have went to Smith's and probably bought a pallet full of that stuff.
Yes.
And then because it was limited supply, charged extra for it.
Yeah, totally could have done that. But on
And you
Mother's
guys would have
Day,
paid it because you wanted it.
yes,
Supply and demand. They messed up.
they really did on that one. Good game. Like I said, the Isotopes won, but no peanuts and no Cracker Jacks. That cannot happen at a
So
baseball
can you
game.
really call that a win?
No, really is a disappointment.
And that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at siblingrivalrybb.
We're also on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Next week on SRBB, we place our bets on who's the next big name to land on the IL.
And we predict the over-under on oblique injuries for the season. Oblique, blackout.